Today we have another female danger story series, or dangers of being a female wherever you are in the world. Today I have more stories that happened to me recently since my last video of potential dangers. I also read your stories that you guys submitted to me of dangerous situations that you were in. And today I not only have females but male version of stories as well. And tips and tricks from you guys and what you guys can do to protect yourself. So share this video. I believe this is one of the most important series that I do, but it sure does help to listen to what others have gone through so that you can protect yourself potentially in the future. Recently, there was a video of a female going into the elevator, and I'm not sure if this was her apartment or where this was, but a man gets off the elevator and starts to follow her, and there is no CCTV inside the elevator, but the lady was assaulted. And later on, as they got off the elevator, you can see her chase him down with a spray that she had, thankfully. But it is so crazy to think that like in an elevator something like this could happen in an area in broad daylight. And me personally, I hate elevators as well because I just always have nightmares about elevators. Anytime I dream about elevators, it's usually like the elevator falling, something really bad happening in elevators. So when I saw this video, it just reminds you can never be safe anywhere. To start off the video, I felt very princessy today. And in my past videos, people started to comment like, when a female wears a certain clothing, it provokes. So why do you wear that? That's one of the most stupidest and valid arguments ever. And as you guys can see, my hair is so voluminous and one of the healthiest it has ever been. And you guys know how I always keep up with my hair, and it is through my custom hair care, Function of Beauty. And thank you so much to Function of Beauty for supporting my channel for the longest time. At Function of Beauty, you're able to customize your hair care and your goals through their quiz. And because it's summer, I have changed up the formula, and it is humid where I live, so I have put on anti-freeze, shine, soothe scalp, strengthen, and volumize. Changing up the formula based on season is a life changer because my hair also changes depending on the season, whether it's humidity, cold, and my hair can look fantastic all 4 seasons round. And you could choose a scent as well, and I always go for the natural one, eucalyptus. They use high quality ingredients, and I've never gone back to the drugstore shampoo and conditioner ever again. I've been only using Function of Beauty for over a year now, you guys. That is literally how much I love it. You could come to my house and you will only see this shampoo in my shower. I also like to get the non-silicone conditioner because silicone I feel like weighs my hair down. So as you guys can see, my hair is super light yet at the same time very hydrated. You can get 20% off your first 16-ounce custom set by clicking my link in the description box below. Seriously, try it for yourself and you will see why so many people are talking about Function of Beauty and why they love it and stick with it. So click my link down below. It really helps me to continue making these videos. Thank you so much to Function of Beauty and you guys for always watching. So before I read the first story from you guys, the recent encounter that I had was back in Christmas. I was out with one of my newer friends, and this happened in K-Town, you guys. Usually K-Town, New York City is supposed to be pretty safe. And this was during the time of still like kind of like COVID restrictions. So I believe not all the bars and everything was open 24/7. There was only a couple places that was open till very late. It was also middle of winter, so there wasn't a lot of people out on the streets. So me and my friend, who we just finished a Christmas party, we were walking to her house, which was just a couple blocks away. And when we were walking, there was a guy. He seemed a little homeless, but at the same time I don't know if he was homeless because a lot of the homeless people that you see don't have a lot of, it seems like they don't have a lot of energy, right? But this guy, like, he seemed like he had a lot of energy. He started to follow us, talk to us. Obviously, we just wanted to go home. We decided to cross the street, run. He started to literally run and follow us and try to like grab us and touch us. Finally, we get to the front of the block. I see a food truck across the street and I see about 2 or 3 people there. So we just ran to where the people were. This man asked us what's wrong. And honestly, at that point, no offense, but all men seem scary at that point. We told him that guy is following us. He's running with us, and he turns around and says something to the guy. And while he was distracted, we just ran again towards my friend's house. I wish I said thank you to the guy. That guy was tall and he was really fast at running, so who knows what he would have done to us even if it was 2 people. So if someone is literally chasing you down like it happened to us, go to where people are. But anyway, please be safe and be with someone. Do not walk late at night, especially, I mean, we thought Koreatown was safe, but obviously it kind of wasn't. This story also reminds me of what my mom told me happened to her when she was pregnant with me. She said it was in her 4th term, so like really big. She was in the subway. She was going home from work. She says that the subway was really crowded during rush hour, and she said that there was this mid-aged man that was right behind her that was like really like close to her. Now she thought that obviously at first it's rush hour, I mean people are gonna bump into each other or whatever. And then she realized this guy started to touch my mom's butt while she was pregnant. I don't know if he knew she was pregnant or not. She says that at that moment she didn't say anything, but right at the next stop when he started to get off, my mom said she literally had like a book or something that she was reading. She said she rolled it like this and hit the guy's head when he was leaving the subway. Apparently he didn't turn around. He was just embarrassed because he knew what he was doing, and I was like, Mom, you are a badass, because I don't know what I would have done. First submission is by VN. I had this dietitian teacher who came to my house for teaching math. He would always touch my hands in a weird way and would try to look under the table to look at my legs. It disgusted me and I really hated it, but I would always move away or would try to sit as far as I could so he won't reach me. On the last day of his teaching, he was constantly touching my legs, and my parents weren't home. It was getting really frustrating, so I took a glass of water and threw at him and shouted, "Get out." He called me crazy and ran out. I never saw him again, and he never called my parents for the fee. I'm glad he went out instead of doing something else, as my parents weren't home. Till this day, my parents don't know what happened and why he never asked for a fee. But I think my mom knows or has a feeling of what happened. I still haven't had the courage to tell her. I don't know why. VN, wow. You are, first of all, courageous. The fact that your parents weren't home and you were able to get a water bottle and throw it at the guy. Good job. First of all, this guy does not deserve a fee, so thank God he didn't ask for it, and thank God your parents did not give him any money, because he obviously wasn't the teacher he needed to be. If I had a daughter and I was, you know, hiring a male teacher to come into my house, I learned that I would never leave the freaking house, or I would have a freaking CCTV watching all the time if I needed to leave. For me personally, those creepy teacher encounters were with like people from church. I just remember this one youth teacher. He was like one of the popular youth teachers, you know, and he was older. Obviously he had a daughter himself. So I remember in middle school we had this church van, and there were a couple kids in our classroom. We went snowboarding and we were coming back, and I remember I was sitting in the front because I have really bad car sickness. So I was sleeping and he was kind of stroking my head, right? And at first, obviously being a Korean, usually it's like a sign of like, oh, you're a baby, you're a child, I'm protecting you, like I'm trying to make it comfortable kind of thing. And another time when he said that he had some kind of work like near where I lived and that he wanted to buy me lunch, so I went out, bought me lunch, and like he took me home, and like there was nothing really, you know, to me as a middle school kid, it was kind of innocent. And I told my mom about it back then, and my mom was like, that is so weird that like an adult would ask a middle school student out for lunch without confirming with the parents. And later on, like years later after I graduated high school, we found out that that youth teacher asked out a high school girl to be his girlfriend while he has a whole family and stuff like that. So maybe those were kind of early signs, and thank God nothing happened to me. Yara's story is about how you also cannot trust your relatives. I have a story. When I was around 6-7 years old, me and my family lived with my aunt, my dad's sister, and she had 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. 2 of them were around 17 to 19 age. Me and my cousin, who were the same age as me, and 2 other boys or teenage boys, pretty much adults, we were playing hide and seek at night when I decided to hide in the little storage house. Little did I know that one of the older cousins was there. He was just standing there staring at me. He told me to come closer to him, so I did. I walked towards him not knowing what would happen. Next, then he put me between his legs and started to rub against me. I didn't know what to do. He then grabbed my face and kissed me. Till this day, I haven't told anyone, but now I know this was wrong. I'm kind of scared of him when I see him when we visit my aunt's house, but I just shrug it off as my family has been through a lot. I don't want to bother them with my nonsense. Tell your parents. That's just my personal what I would do. The fact that this is not just a stranger but your relative, and you were so young. This is your cousin. She said they were 17 to 19 years of age. And what is a 17 to 19-year-old doing playing hide and seek with 6 to 7-year-olds? That's so weird. That is absolutely wrong, and you have every right to be scared. Not only to be scared, but I would not be going to my aunt's house. I would be straight up, I don't know how old you're now, but tell my parents, tell my aunt, and tell them what my cousin did, and never even see that person again until possibly it is resolved or you get an apology or something. I'm not putting myself in an uncomfortable position because of what they did. And don't be surprised if some parents are not encouraging or they don't do anything right off the bat. Because I have noticed that a lot of times when things happen when you're young and like 10 years pass by and you tell your parents might be upset, but there's nothing that they also can do as well. So the earlier you say it, the better. Linda says, I remember a time when I went to a new club that opened up nearest to my city and my friends and I decided to check it out. After that, we were walking back to the parking lot from the club to where I parked my car. As we were side by side walking down the streets, a blacked out van was slowly following behind us. I was the first to notice because I was the sober one. I asked them to stop to check out if either I'm hallucinating or not. Then the van stopped, so then I started to move a little faster alongside with my friends. Then I quickly told my friends the situation, and when we were about to make a run for it, the van drove quickly in front of us and 4 masked men jumped out of the car. Is this a movie? It was so scary, so I held onto my friends as right as possible and made a run for it, and we started screaming for help. We ran so fast, didn't even bother to look back. We made it safe to my car, locked the doors, and waited it out. As we waited and waited, I noticed the black van circling around the block looking for us. And we waited a couple minutes more until they left. I pulled out the parking and left. That night was the most scary experience that I had ever experienced in my life. It is possible that it could have been kind of some kind of trafficking or something like that, so thank God you guys were in groups. Usually late at night when I'm walking, I always have my phone literally right on my hand. I usually have the function where my passcode is not needed up to an hour or 2 hours, because if you need your passcode every time you want to lock your phone, sometimes in this kind of situation when masked men are literally trying to chase you down, it's gonna be too late. Have my phone option on like this and walk, so just in case I need to quickly call 911. And this is my bag that I've been traveling with, and I have a certain self-defense stuff in there, and unfortunately I have to carry it with me whenever I go out because you just never know what could happen. Alright, the next submission. I was on vacation with my cousin and our families in Thailand. My cousin is Thai. She was born in Thailand. She lives in this huge apartment. It has like 10 floors and of course an elevator. I absolutely hate elevators. Me too, girl. But when we were coming back from the pool, I was sunburned. I felt so much pain. I was tired. My cousin lives on the 5th floor. So me, my sister, and my cousin, we decided to use the elevator. And 2 men came in the elevator too. My cousin had a bad feeling about them. Use your intuitions. She went in her notes and typed, I don't feel good with these men. She showed it to me and my sister. I really didn't think much of it. I was thinking of how I would get rid of my sunburn. The guy started having conversation in Chinese. My cousin knows Chinese. She grabbed me and my sister's arms so tightly, we were like, WTF is wrong with her. After the 2 men got out, she grabbed our arms and got out of the elevator, looked left and right, and ran into her apartment. We asked what's wrong. She said that the 2 men were talking about us and they were saying some horrifying stuff like, should we kill them, kidnap them? Like they were planning to do something to us. Apparently they thought we were Thai girls, so they didn't think that we would understand Chinese. Me and my sister's eyes were wide open. I've never felt so scared in my life. I kept overthinking, what if I see them again? What if they actually kill me or kidnap me at the moment I see them? Days pass and I still think about this till this day. Now, rather these guys were joking or not, the fact that you're literally next to someone joking around about how they want to kidnap and kill people, they could have been very well serious, you guys. They just have some sick minds. Obviously, the brave me, my toxic trait, thinking that I would speak Chinese and tell them, yo, I understand you. But who knows, that could have been dangerous. This is why I again say I also hate elevators. Also talking about the first story that I told you guys, just elevators, it's not an easy route to get out of if something happens to you in there. So Midnight Blue, this story happened in Seoul, South Korea. There was a time that I was living alone in Seoul and my husband temporarily stays in Daejeon for work. One day someone was ringing my house, but I couldn't see his face on the monitor. At first I thought he might just ring the wrong house, but he didn't stop till I felt scared. It was 4 a.m. I called my husband and told him what happened and asked him to call the police because I couldn't speak Korean well. And then my husband told me, honey, he is sending messages now to my Kakao. Kakao is a messaging service. So we were confused. How? And then I remember the man's jacket at the monitor. It was the same as the food delivery guy. He maybe thought that the number registered when ordering was mine. He also might have noticed that I was always alone when delivering the food, and I was a 외국인 or a foreigner. On this Kakao message, he said, 만날래, 만날래, meaning, you wanna meet me, you wanna meet me? Housewarming. That's so creepy. Why would you ask someone that at 4 in the morning? Anyway, the police said he is not there anymore when they checked out, and I couldn't file a case because he was not doing any harm besides ringing my door from outside the building. Since then, I have a note posted at my door. Please place the 택배 or food besides the door. I don't accept them personally anymore. What I would have done if the police can't do anything, I would have told the food delivery, whatever you're ordering from, like I would have told them, yo, your delivery guy is literally messaging me and being a freaking creep. And I would have also left a review as well, because, you know, a lot of the times, you know, food reviews really determine if people order from there or not. So I would have told them, I'm gonna leave a review if you do not take care of this person. So just like my first video, as I said, if you're living in Korea alone or any city-like place alone, there's many options due to COVID where you could have a non-contact option, which is the option you should do it every single time now, so they don't know what you look like. Tay Tay says, I actually had a violin recital nearby a stop, and it's near just about a couple kilometer walk. I'm wearing a fitted lacy dress with an above the knee skirt, but not too short, holding my violin. I felt kind of uneasy as if someone was watching me. Then all of a sudden a military guy just ran up to me and offered to hold my violin and walk me to the venue. I said it's fine, but he insisted politely and said it would be dangerous for me to go alone. He would ask casual questions about the recitals, but not dates, names, or times, just questions about my position and the songs I'm gonna play, and surprisingly, I felt kind of safer. When we got to the venue, he gave me the violin and talked to the guard. Then he came up to me and said that there was a man following me the moment I got off my stops, apparently from the same transportation, and he was in the same bus. He noticed that we were the only ones left, and he decided to just get off the last stop, my stop, and miss his stop. This creep walked after me and followed me, stopping occasionally to text or pretend to call someone to appear as a bystander. I thanked him and offered him refreshments inside and pay for his ride back, but he just politely refused and walked back. Thank you so much for the kind gentleman. I never got his name, but his kind gesture was very touching. Bless him. That was an unexpected turnaround. I thought the military guy was gonna harass you, but guessing that because he's a military and he's used to like surveilling places, and he got off for a stranger and helped you. That is like a movie. God bless him, whoever you are. God bless you. Winter says, when I traveled to Korea, despite being a boy, I experienced some things. I was gonna go meet my friend who was a few stops by the train. When I was in the train by myself, some creepy dude was really close to me and his hands were right on my rear area. I felt so creeped out, but since it was cramped, I thought maybe he didn't have enough space. So when some people got down, I said, and he sat next to me, placed his hands on my thigh. I didn't say anything because I'm not fluent in Korean and I thought he would get off before me. But when I looked at him, I got the creep vibe that he was chasing me. So when it was about time for me to go, I waited until the doors were about to close and I ran out. And then I met up with my friends and told them all about it. But as you can see, like Winter, things happen to men as well, not just females, you guys. But I totally understand Winter. Being a foreigner in another country, you're at a disadvantage because you don't speak the language and you just don't feel comfortable like saying things out loud, or let alone have people understand what situation you're in. And I still haven't figured out what to do when you're in another country and you don't speak the language. How do you get help from people? Do you guys have any tips that's watching? Let us know. Isaac Kim says, ladies, as a male, I will give you a fail-proof technique to employ if you're ever caught in a sticky situation. Strike the man's groin area. What? You don't need to hit it super hard, just relatively accurate, which shouldn't be too difficult. A vertical soccer kick is suffice. Just make sure he doesn't see it coming. This will buy you more than enough time to make a run and get help. And remember, it doesn't matter how tall, muscular, or intimidating a man may be, because there's no way for the man to build muscles around baseballs. Therefore, men are much more vulnerable than we seem. Believe me, my girlfriend, now fiance, has employed this technique every time. And anytime I get annoyed and tickle her, and let's just say that I don't tickle her anymore. This is one of those classic tips, but for some reason, I think we forgot about this tips that you can leverage the man's weakness area. I guess the first thing you think of is to run, but second, if that doesn't work, this is a good tip to think about. Finch says, when I was in college, I did a semester abroad in Japan. One evening, a friend and I made last-minute plans to stay up all night to help fix their sleeping schedule. I was lucky in that my homestayed house was only 3 stops from their apartment via train. It was almost time for last train, and for some reason, I thought it would be okay to walk the 15 minutes from the house to the station alone. Most of the walk was through a very quiet residential area. I walked from the house to the first street I had to cross without a problem. And then I got some company. This obvious kind of drunken businessman on a bicycle came riding past and made a right turn at the street at the same time I was crossing. I thought nothing of it. Then he turned his bike around, rides ahead of me, and at the end of the block, turns the bike to face me and wait. I kept him in the corner of my eye while I walked by him, and he did nothing. So I reasoned with myself maybe he was lost and he turned around because he went in the wrong direction. He turned the bike around and again rode in front of me to the end of the block again. This time I noticed he was fiddling with something as he waited. Me being me, my first thought was, crap, I'm gonna get shanked. Ironically in Japan and not in Philly. I was all prepared for things to go down. I figured if I chose another route, he would follow me and he's on a bike. I decided that I was going to walk near him, and if he made any movement, I was going to kick his bike into his legs really hard and run. I got close enough to him and then I saw what he was actually doing. Dude was Part of me was kind of impressed, like, damn, you can't do that on the bike, but also why not just go home and do that? Sadly, I did not kick the bike into him and kept walking. He followed up until we reached a busier area. As I was crossing the street into the area, he reached his hand out towards me, yes, that hand, and stuttering said in Japanese, hold on or wait a bit. Kept going and he gave up. Seriously, what did he think was gonna happen? I was gonna wait for him to finish or join in? WTF, no. What fantasy world do these creeps live in? Moral of the story, no matter how safe you are in a place like Japan, which is supposed to be very safe on the streets, you always need to be prepared and don't do stupid things like I did, example, walking alone at night. I have been to Japan many times as well as a vacation, and while it was relatively very clean and safe on the streets, I've met weird people on the subway. I just remember this like weird Japanese guy, like he was just following us. Like you could clearly tell there was something mentally wrong with him too, but he would just run, follow us, and like stare at us. Like it was the weirdest thing. It's very scary to have those kind of encounters when you're in another country. I've also mentioned in my first video of how I ran into someone that was Emming in the train, but this happened in Korea, and I don't understand those people who do that in public. I do think that there is something very wrong with them mentally, but it doesn't matter. I should have reported it, but I didn't. If it is me now, holy shoes, you don't know what I'm gonna do. Safia says, I'm sorry I have to say this. If a stalker comes up to me in 2020-ish, I'm gonna just cough and sneeze and say, that dude is gone. He's like, nope, you ain't worth it. With the whole COVID, nobody want to catch that stuff, so sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You just gotta cough, sneeze, spit. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to protect yourself. So that is one tip. That is one tip. Last story from Emily says, earlier this year, I went on a last-minute trip to see an acquaintance with a female about 3 hours away for the weekend. We went out that night and met up with some of our friends to go roller skating and drink. There was a guy in the group that made it very obviously that he liked me, and I did everything I could think of to refuse his advances. Even flat out saying, no, stop, I'm uncomfortable. I guess he thought I was just playing hard to get, because towards the end of the night, he picked me up from my seat, slammed me against the wall, and kissed and bit my mouth so hard that I bled. I struggled to get out of his grip and fell to the floor. When I looked up, my friends and everyone else around me was laughing. I immediately ended the night, called my boyfriend, and cried for hours. That was one of the most humiliating things I've experienced, and lesson learned, surround yourself with the people that actually have your back. You did a great job. Don't hang out with those people who are going to literally not even protect you. It is so important who you let into your life and who you surround yourself with, you guys. When you're young, you might want to hang out with a group of people that seem cool or popular. That is like the worst mistake that you make as a teenager or as a young adult. There is no such thing as popular or cool groups of people. You are cool, and your friends that will protect you are the cool people. I notice myself that now when I am on the subway, I pretend to listen to music, but I actually don't, or I have the music on very, very low. I also never ever bring my luxury, not that I have a lot of luxuries anyway, but anything expensive, anything that looks luxurious. I also personally try to ride on the train where there is a conductor. So just in case anything happens, there is a conductor right nearby you so that you could tell that person if anything went wrong. I also have been going to the gym a lot these days, making myself strong, knowing how to throw punches and kicks. Just making myself strong is also another way that you can protect yourself. Thank you so much for watching. If there's any other stories or tips that you guys could get to keep yourself and your friends and strangers, whoever is out there watching this video, safe, leave a comment down below and you might be featured in my next video. Thank you so much, Function of Beauty. Remember to check them out. Stay safe and strong, you guys.